The ship shuddered as it passed through the upper atmosphere of the arena world. Kai Merrick gripped the railing of the small cockpit, his knuckles white. He had never felt so small, so out of place. The planet below was enormous, its surface carved into spiraling platforms and towers, all glowing with strange lights. The roar of the crowd was already audible, even through the ship's reinforced hull. The Thark's Dominion had built this world to showcase their might, and now it would showcase him, if he survived. Kai had been captured weeks ago. One moment he was navigating an uncharted sector near the edge of human space. The next his ship was ripped from orbit by a massive energy net, and he was at the mercy of the Tharks. They were a proud and cruel race, known for their strength and their love of spectacle. To them humans were weak, fragile, and barely worth attention. But humans had a stubborn spark, a kind of cleverness that no Tharks had ever faced. That spark was all Kai had left. The ship landed roughly on a platform overlooking the arena floor. As the ramp descended, the wind from the crowd hit him. Thousands, maybe millions of aliens filled the stands. They were unlike any species Kai had seen. Some had 4 arms, some had glowing skin, some floated above the ground with no visible means of support. Every eye seemed to be on him, studying him, judging him. He felt fear, but it was mixed with something else, a fire that made his chest tight and his muscles ready. He would fight and he would survive. The first alien champion stepped forward as the gates opened. It was massive, its 4 arms tipped with blades that glinted in the arena lights. Its eyes burned with a strange yellow glow. Kai studied it carefully. The Tharks believed in strength, in power, in domination. They thought him weak. They would learn differently. He tightened his grip on his small, improvised weapon, a jagged piece of alloy he had hidden in his jacket. It was nothing compared to the aliens' weapons, but it was his only chance. The arena trembled as the battle began. The alien lunged at him, moving faster than Kai expected. He dodged to the side, feeling the rush of air as the blades cut where he had been standing moments before. Kai's heart pounded. Every move mattered. He could not afford a single mistake. The crowd roared, a mix of excitement, confusion, and disbelief. Humans were not meant to fight here. Humans were meant to be food, pets, or slaves. Yet here he was, moving with purpose, dodging death. Kai noticed something in the alien's movement, a small hesitation between attacks. He took a deep breath and remembered what his father had told him long ago: you survive by thinking, not just by hitting. He feinted left, then rolled to the right, striking the alien's joint with his alloy weapon. The creature stumbled, letting out a roar that shook the arena. A cheer, or maybe a gasp, rose from the crowd. Kai's mind raced. He had to stay calm. Each victory mattered, but each mistake could be his last. The Tharks announcers shouted, their voices full of disbelief and anger. No human had ever survived a single round, let alone bested a champion. The crowd's noise grew louder. Some were cheering, some were shocked, some seemed confused. For the first time, Kai felt something strange: hope. Not just for himself, but for all humans. He could show them that humans were clever, adaptable, and not to be underestimated. As he moved across the arena, another champion appeared. This one was different, taller, with armor that shimmered like liquid metal. Its eyes scanned him, calculating. Kai realized that every alien champion had a pattern, a way they fought, a rhythm he could learn. He stayed focused, watching their movements, predicting their attacks, and using the environment to his advantage. Platforms shifted, energy fields pulsed, and he used each change to outmaneuver them. He felt a strange connection to the crowd, even though most of them would never see him as an equal. The Tharks believed strength alone mattered. Humans had brains, hearts, and courage. He was small, yes, and fragile compared to them. But humans could adapt, and that made him dangerous. Each step, each dodge, each strike was a message: do not underestimate us. Hours seemed to pass as he fought. His body ached, sweat ran down his face, and his lungs burned. Yet he was alive. Each victory was harder than the last, but each made him sharper, faster, smarter. He realized that survival was more than strength. It was learning, observing, and anticipating. That was humanity's true weapon. As the sun, or whatever light source lit the arena, began to set, Kai stood at the center of the platform, facing the last champion of the day. It was massive, taller than the towers around them, with glowing claws and a roar that shook the stands. He could feel the weight of the galaxy watching him. Everyone, from the Tharks nobles to the smallest spectator, expected him to fall. But Kai had already learned their patterns. He had already survived what no human should. A small smile crept onto his face. Fear was still there, yes, but it was mixed with determination, with the fire that made humans rise against impossible odds. He tightened his grip on his weapon and prepared for the final strike. The gates opened and the champion lunged. Kai moved, faster than they expected, ready to show them the truth. Humans were not weak. Humans were a spark, a storm, and today he would burn brighter than anyone could imagine. The arena waited, breathless, as the first clash echoed through the glowing platforms. And in that instant, Kai knew one thing with certainty. The Thark's dominion had never faced a human like him. The roar of the crowd was deafening as Kai Merrick stood on the arena floor. His chest heaved, sweat dripping down his face, but his mind was clear. He had survived the first wave of champions. That should have been impossible. Yet here he was, alive, moving, thinking. The Thark's dominion had expected a weak human, easy to crush, easy to humiliate. They had not expected a spark. The next champion stepped through the gates. It was taller than the first, with 6 arms ending in sharp blades that glinted in the arena lights. Its skin shimmered like polished metal, reflecting the platform's glow. Its eyes were narrow, calculating. Kai's first instinct was to back away, but he remembered something crucial. Aliens relied on strength and speed. They believed that raw power could overwhelm any opponent. Humans did not fight that way. Humans adapted. Humans thought. Kai studied the creature carefully. Every move, every shift in weight, every flash of its eyes was a message if he knew how to read it. The first strike came, a sweeping blow that could cut a starship in half. Kai rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding the edge of a platform. Sparks flew as the blade scraped the metal. The crowd gasped, some in fear, some in excitement, others in disbelief. A human was surviving. A human was fighting back. He noticed the pattern. Each swing was followed by a pause, a fraction of a second when the creature's balance shifted. Kai took a deep breath, keeping his focus. He could not fight like the alien. He had to think like a human. Timing, speed, and cleverness were his weapons. He darted forward, jabbed his jagged alloy piece into the creature's arm joint, and rolled back just in time to avoid a retaliatory strike. The alien staggered and the crowd roared. Kai felt a small thrill. One down. Not the final, but enough to send a message. The Thark's announcers shouted, their voices tense and angry. Impossible. No human should survive. The words only strengthened Kai. They believed humans were weak. They believed humans could not last in their greatest arena. Every step he took, every move he made, proved them wrong. He realized then that survival was not just about strength. It was about observation. About learning quickly. About turning weaknesses into opportunity. The next champion was different. It floated above the ground, for tendrils stretching from its body, each ending in a glowing tip. It did not charge like the others. It calculated, analyzed, and struck with precision. Kai had to move faster. He used the arena itself as a weapon. Platforms shifted, energy barriers pulsed, and he leapt from one to another, forcing the alien to follow. Every misstep it made gave him an advantage. With a sudden roll and a precise strike, he disabled one of its tendrils. The crowd erupted in shock. Humans were not meant to beat these creatures, yet here he was, doing it with skill and cunning. Hours passed, or maybe minutes, it was hard to tell in the blur of fights. Kai's body ached, his muscles screamed, but his mind remained sharp. He began to notice patterns in every alien, subtle tells before a strike, slight movements before a lunge, moments of hesitation when they expected dominance. He exploited each one. He trapped a 6-limbed warrior in a collapsing energy net by predicting its path. He made a telekinetic fighter overextend her powers by feigning weakness. Every victory increased his confidence and sent shockwaves through the crowd. Humans were not just surviving. Humans were excelling. In the stands, whispers began to spread. The Thark's nobles watched with confusion, anger, and something else, fear. If one human could do this, what could an entire species accomplish? The arena floor trembled as more champions approached, each designed to be stronger, faster, deadlier. Kai did not flinch. He had learned the truth of the Tharks. They relied on superiority and intimidation. They had never faced an opponent who could adapt, think, and learn so quickly. Kai ducked another strike, feeling the wind from a blade cut inches from his face. He countered, striking the creature's side, then rolled to avoid a follow-up attack. The alien stumbled and the crowd gasped again. He could see the confusion in their eyes, the disbelief that a human could outmatch them. It was intoxicating, but he could not let pride blind him. Each fight was a lesson. Each victory was a step closer to survival. By the end of the day, Kai stood amidst fallen champions, breathing heavily, bloodied but unbroken. The arena was silent for a moment, the crowd uncertain how to react. They had never seen a human fight like this. He looked around, noticing the fear creeping into the faces of even the most seasoned Thark's warriors. That fear was his new ally. Humans had been underestimated for centuries, dismissed as fragile and weak. Now, one human had proven them wrong. Kai felt a surge of determination. This was only the beginning. The Thark's dominion had built this arena to display power, to crush challengers, to humiliate species. They had expected him to break. They had expected him to fail. Instead, he had survived. He had shocked the Empire. And as he prepared for the next wave, he realized something extraordinary. Humans had a weapon that no empire could buy or build. It was cleverness, adaptability, the unyielding will to survive against impossible odds. The sun, or whatever burned high in the alien sky, cast long shadows across the arena. Kai tightened his grip on his jagged weapon, his mind racing. Every champion that came next would be stronger, faster, deadlier. Yet he was ready. Every strike, every movement, every decision had sharpened him like a blade. The Tharks had underestimated humans, and that mistake could cost them more than they imagined. The gates opened once more, signaling the next round. Kai stepped forward, heart steady, eyes sharp. Fear was still there, yes, but it was a controlled fire, a focused energy that made him dangerous. He was small, fragile, human. But today in this arena he was more than that. He was a symbol of defiance, of intelligence, and of unbreakable will. The crowd held its breath. The next champion lunged. Kai moved faster than anyone expected, ready to turn fear into shock once again. For the first time, the Thark's dominion realized a human could be more than prey. A human could be a force. The arena felt different now. The noise of the crowd was still loud, but it carried a new tone. It was no longer pure hunger for blood. It was curiosity, fear. Kai Merrick stood near the center of the platform, shoulders rising and falling as he caught his breath. His body hurt in places he did not know could hurt. Cuts burned. Muscles shook. Yet his eyes were calm. He had learned something important, something the Thark's champions still did not understand. They believed power came from strength. Kai knew power came from the mind. Another gate opened with a deep metallic sound. A new champion emerged, slower than the others, taller, wrapped in thick armor covered with glowing symbols. The crowd grew quiet. This one was different. This one was not just muscle. Its eyes moved with care, watching Kai instead of charging. Kai felt a chill. This opponent would not rush. This opponent would think. Kai did not move at first. He watched the alien's feet, its hands, the way its head tilted slightly to the left. He remembered every fight before this one. Every mistake the champions made. Every pattern they repeated. The Tharks trained their warriors to be perfect, but perfection had limits. Humans did not seek perfection. Humans adapted. The alien raised one hand. The ground beneath Kai shimmered, then collapsed into a shallow pit of energy. Kai jumped back just in time, landing hard. The crowd gasped. The champion was controlling the arena itself. This was not brute force. This was control. Kai smiled faintly. That was the mistake. The alien attacked again, shifting the platforms, forcing Kai to move where it wanted. Kai ran, stumbled, rolled, just barely avoiding the deadly edges of the energy fields. To the crowd it looked like panic. Like weakness. Kai made sure it looked that way. Inside his mind he counted. 1 shift. 2 shifts. 3. Always the same pause after the third. The alien lifted both hands, confident now. It believed it had broken the human. Kai slowed his breathing. When the third platform shifted, he ran straight toward the champion instead of away. The crowd roared in shock. The alien hesitated. That moment was all Kai needed. He slid beneath a sweeping arm and drove his alloy shard into a glowing seam in the armor. The light flickered. The alien cried out and stumbled backward. Its control of the arena vanished. The platform stabilized. The champion fell to one knee. Silence spread through the stands. Kai stepped back, chest burning, heart pounding. He did not finish the alien. He did not need to. The message was clear. Intelligence could defeat control. The gates opened and the wounded champion was dragged away. High above the arena, the Thark's leaders watched in growing tension. This human was not surviving by luck. He was learning. Worse, he was teaching the crowd to see differently. The next battles came faster. A champion that could split into copies. Kai watched carefully and noticed the real one always cast a faint shadow. A creature with armored skin that could not be cut. Kai lured it into an energy barrier and let the arena do the damage. A fast-moving hunter that attacked from above. Kai stayed still, forcing it to strike first, then countered. With every fight, Kai's hidden weapon grew stronger. Observation. Patience. Choice. He was no longer just reacting. He was predicting. The crowd began to chant. Not words but sounds rising and falling together. Some aliens leaned forward in their seats. Others pulled back, uneasy. They were watching something new. A human not just fighting but mastering the arena. Kai's body screamed for rest, but his mind felt sharp, almost clear. He realized the truth as he avoided another strike. The Tharks believed the arena was their weapon. Humans turned weapons into tools. Tools into advantages. Another champion entered, massive and covered in scars. It roared and charged without thinking. Kai barely moved. He stepped aside, used the creature's momentum, and sent it crashing into a pillar. The fight ended quickly. That was when the fear truly began. Not fear of losing a match. Fear of what humans could become. Kai felt it in the air. In the way the announcers hesitated. In the way the crowd no longer laughed when he fell but tensed instead. They expected him to rise. And he did. Every time. Blood ran into his eyes during one fight, blurring his vision. He wiped it away and kept going. Pain was real, but it was temporary. Giving up would be permanent. Between battles, Kai stood alone on the platform. He looked around the arena at the towering walls, the endless seats, the glowing sky above. This place was built to break spirits. To remind all species who ruled the galaxy. Yet here he stood. A single human. Unbroken. He realized then that the hidden weapon was not just intelligence. It was belief. Humans believed they could change the outcome. They believed tomorrow did not have to match yesterday. That belief made them dangerous. The final fight of the cycle approached. The gates opened slowly as if the arena itself was unsure. A new champion stepped out, quiet, still, watching Kai with careful eyes. This one did not roar. Did not rush. Kai steadied himself. This would be harder. But he was ready. The crowd leaned forward as the two faced each other. No one spoke. No one breathed. They all sensed it. Something had changed. The arena no longer belonged only to the Tharks. Kai shifted his stance, tired but focused. He knew now that strength could be learned, speed could be matched, but the human mind was something else entirely. And the galaxy was beginning to notice. As the champion moved, Kai moved too, not with fear but with purpose. Whatever came next, the Tharks' dominion would never forget this day. Because the human had found his true weapon. And it could not be taken from him. The arena lights dimmed, and a deep silence spread across the vast stands. The noise that once filled the air was gone, replaced by tension so thick it felt heavy. Kai Merrick stood alone on the platform, his body bruised and tired, his clothes torn and dark with dried blood. Every breath hurt, but his eyes stayed sharp. He knew this moment had been coming. The gates on the far side of the arena opened slowly. The final champion stepped out. It was larger than any before. Taller than the arena towers, broader than armored vehicles, its body shaped by bioengineering and endless combat. Its skin looked like dark stone, marked with glowing red lines that pulsed with power. Its eyes burned with cold intelligence. This was not just a warrior. This was Xyler, the Tharks' dominion's living weapon. The crowd did not cheer. They watched in silence. Xyler had ended wars alone. Entire worlds had surrendered after seeing it fight. No challenger had ever lasted more than minutes against it. And now, a single human stood before it. Kai felt the weight of the moment press down on him. His hands trembled slightly, not from fear alone, but from exhaustion. His body wanted to collapse. His mind refused. Xyler took one step forward. The ground shook. Energy rippled across the arena floor. Kai slid back but stayed standing. He did not rush. He had learned better. The first attack came without warning. Xyler moved faster than something that size should. A massive arm swung down, cracking the platform where Kai had stood a second earlier. Kai rolled, barely escaping. Stone and metal exploded into the air. The crowd gasped. Kai ran. Not in panic. With purpose. Xyler followed, every step shaking the arena. The champion laughed, a deep sound that echoed through the stands. It believed the human was finally breaking. Kai jumped onto a raised platform, then another, using height and distance. He remembered every fight before this one. Every pattern. Every weakness hidden inside strength. Xyler fired a burst of energy from its chest. Kai dove, the blast tearing through a tower behind him. Heat washed over his back. His skin burned. He cried out but kept moving. Pain did not matter now. Only timing. Only choice. Kai led Xyler toward the center of the arena, where gravity fields shifted without warning. He slowed his pace, let his steps falter. To the crowd it looked like the end. Xyler charged. At the last moment, Kai changed direction. The gravity field shifted. Xyler stumbled just slightly. Just enough. Kai turned and ran straight toward the giant. The crowd exploded in noise. Xyler swung again, but Kai slid beneath the arm, close enough to feel the heat from its body. He struck at a glowing red line along its side, the same place where the energy flow was strongest. His alloy shard snapped, but the impact disrupted the flow. Xyler roared. The sound shook the arena walls. It slammed both fists down. Kai was thrown through the air, crashing hard onto the platform. The world spun. His vision blurred. He tasted blood. For a moment he could not move. Xyler approached slowly now. Confident. Certain. Kai forced himself onto his hands and knees. His body screamed at him to stop. To rest. To give up. He remembered Earth. Small. Weak. Ignored. He remembered humans being laughed at by stronger species. He pushed himself up. Xyler hesitated. That hesitation mattered. Kai grabbed a fallen piece of arena metal and hurled it, not at Xyler's body but at the energy pillar behind it. The pillar shattered. The arena systems reacted instantly. Gravity spiked then dropped. Xyler lost balance. Kai ran. Every step felt like fire in his legs. He climbed the broken pillar as energy surged around it. Xyler reached for him, claws scraping stone. Kai jumped. He landed on Xyler's shoulder, gripping tightly. The crowd screamed. Xyler tried to grab him, but Kai climbed higher, toward the champion's head. He saw it now, the control node embedded at the base of the skull, glowing brighter as Xyler grew angry. This was it. Xyler shook violently. Kai almost lost his grip. With his last strength he drove the broken shard into the control node. Light exploded outward. Xyler froze. The glow faded. The giant staggered backward, arms dropping. Its eyes dimmed. With a sound like a falling mountain, Xyler collapsed onto the arena floor. Silence. No cheers. No screams. Just silence. Kai fell to his knees, breathing hard. His vision swam. He stayed upright by pure will. Then the crowd erupted. Not in laughter. Not in mockery. In shock. In fear. In awe. The Thark's announcers said nothing. The leaders in the high seats stared down at the arena, unable to look away. Their greatest weapon had fallen. Not to a fleet. Not to an army. To one human. Kai slowly stood. Every movement hurt, but he stood anyway. He looked around the arena. No champion moved. No gate opened. For the first time, the Thark's dominion had nothing to send against him. Kai raised his head. He did not roar. He did not threaten. He simply stood. And that was enough. The galaxy had just watched an empire's symbol of power fall. The arena, once built to show dominance, now showed something else entirely. That even the strongest force could be brought to its knees. And that humans were no longer small. The arena was silent, broken only by the echoes of Xyler's fall. Dust hung in the air, sparkling in the alien lights like tiny stars. Kai Merrick stood in the center, his body bruised, bloodied, and trembling. He had won. The impossible had happened. A human had defeated the greatest champion of the Thark's dominion. Yet the victory did not feel complete. The arena still seemed to hum with tension, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath. The crowd stared. Thousands of aliens filled the stands, some cheering, some frozen in disbelief, some turning away in shock. Even the Thark's nobles, the leaders who had built this arena and ruled countless worlds, looked uncertain. For the first time, the unshakable empire felt small. Their champion had fallen to one human, and that human was breathing, standing, alive. It was a moment that would be remembered forever. Kai felt exhaustion in every muscle, pain in every joint, but it was mixed with something stronger, pride. Not just for himself but for all humans. Humans were often underestimated, dismissed, called weak and fragile. That belief had lasted for centuries. Today, Kai had shown the galaxy what humans could do when pushed to their limits. He had fought not just with his strength, but with his mind, his courage, and his unyielding will. Across the arena, the other champions stirred. Some were injured, others were hesitant. None of them stepped forward. They had seen the human's skill, his cleverness, his fearlessness. Even the strongest warriors recognized that brute force alone could not defeat him. Kai realized that his victory had done more than survive. It had taught a lesson. High above, in the observation towers, the Thark's leaders whispered among themselves. Some were angry, furious that their perfect champion had fallen. Others were uneasy, realizing that humans were not just animals to be crushed. They were opponents, clever, adaptive, dangerous opponents. Kai's victory had sent a ripple through their entire empire. It was no longer a question of strength alone. The galaxy had been forced to take notice. Outside the arena, messages were spreading faster than any starship could travel. Traders, smugglers, and diplomats carried the story of the human who had brought the Thark's champion to its knees. On distant planets, humans celebrated quietly, knowing that one of their own had proven what their species was capable of. On oppressed worlds, whispers turned into hope. If a single human could survive and triumph against an empire, then perhaps resistance was possible. Perhaps change was possible. Kai looked around the arena, seeing the fear in some eyes, the awe in others. He understood the power of his actions. The Thark's dominion had built this spectacle to humiliate and dominate. It had failed. The arena had become a symbol not of empire, but of possibility. One human had reminded the galaxy that courage, intelligence, and determination could topple even the mightiest foes. A group of injured champions was carried from the floor. They stared at Kai, their eyes wide. Some glared. Others nodded, a silent recognition that something had changed. Even the Thark's announcers were quiet now, their previous arrogance gone. Kai had shifted the balance of perception. Humans were no longer small. Humans were no longer to be ignored. Kai's body ached as he took slow steps across the arena. Every movement reminded him of the battles he had fought, the risks he had taken. But he felt lighter than he had in weeks. Each victory, each moment of survival had been a statement. Humans could think, adapt, and overcome. They could turn fear into strength. The galaxy had just witnessed that truth firsthand. As he reached the center, he raised his arms slightly, not in triumph but in quiet acknowledgement. He had survived, yes. He had won, yes. But more than that, he had inspired. The message was clear: humans were not to be underestimated. Small, fragile, or outnumbered, they had a spark that could ignite the universe. The Thark's dominion would rebuild. They would train new champions. They would seek revenge. But the story of Chimeric would remain. Across countless systems, from the edges of human space to the inner core of alien empires, it spread like wildfire. Humans had been dismissed for centuries. Now they were recognized. Now they were feared. Now they were admired. Kai turned toward the gate, knowing the arena's managers would call for him to leave soon. But he paused, looking back at the vast platform where so many warriors had fallen. Every mark, every scorch, every fallen champion told a story. It was a story of defiance, intelligence, and willpower. A story of how one human had changed the view of an empire. Outside the arena, ships prepared to depart. News relayed faster than anyone could follow. Across the galaxy, species who had never thought to challenge the Tharks began to reconsider. Perhaps humans were more than fragile beings with fragile ships. Perhaps humans were a force to be reckoned with. Kai felt a strange calm wash over him. He had been terrified at first. He had doubted his strength, his skill, even his chance to survive. Yet here he stood, victorious, alive, and recognized. The fire in humanity's heart burned brighter than ever in that moment. And in the silent aftermath of the arena, one truth became undeniable: the galaxy had changed. Humans had proven they could challenge empires, outsmart champions, and survive the impossible. The age of underestimating them was over. Chimeric took a deep breath, feeling every ache, every scar, every memory of the battles he had fought. His victory was not just for him. It was for every human, for every species oppressed by the Tharks, for everyone who had ever been told they were weak. He stepped through the arena gate. The crowd's roar followed him, mixed with fear, awe, and respect. The Thark's dominion had been humiliated. The galaxy had taken notice. And humans were no longer small. The story of the human who brought an alien empire to its knees would be told for generations, not as a tale of luck, but as proof of what determination, intelligence, and courage could achieve. The galaxy would remember the day a single human stood against impossible odds, and changed everything. Kai walked into the light, exhausted but unbroken, knowing that the spark he had ignited would grow far beyond the walls of the arena. One human had won. And the galaxy would never look at humans the same way again.